Welcome to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. The Pharmacy Leaders Podcast is a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, with interviews and advice on building your professional network, brand, and a purposeful second income from students, residents, and innovative professionals.
Welcome to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast. I am in Nashville with Carleigh Roberts from the University of Louisiana Monroe College of Pharmacy. She is tremendously connected. I think you had, 600 or 700 Facebook likes?
700.
Anyway, she's got a lot of friends. I might have 3,000 Facebook friends, but I've never gotten that many people to like anything I've done. So I just wanted to welcome her to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So what we're going to do is we're going to just do a quick interview and talk a little bit about some of the initiatives you got there, what you're doing with your leadership experience. But let's actually go back and find out a little bit about your leadership road. So how did you get involved in leadership?
Well, from a young age, my parents have encouraged me to not only be involved, but to take a leadership position in these groups that I got involved in. A big thing that influenced me was basketball, and so coming up playing basketball, that entails a lot of leadership. And so when I came to pharmacy school, I knew I just wanted to get involved, and I got started with APhA, and I worked under some girls that held my position last year and just fell in love with it. And then eventually leading into taking my position, I had some personal things happen that made me want to take this position and truly be passionate about my work I do with GenerationRx.
Yeah, so many of the things we do as pharmacists kind of come from a significant experience, and that's why we go to pharmacy school. But this happened to you, I believe, right before or during pharmacy school. So tell me a little bit about the initiatives that you've kind of taken a hold of, and you've made national, right? Or you've made some significant progress with them. So tell me a little bit about the initiative to begin with, and then what you guys are doing.
Okay, so what happened was I lost a friend. He was addicted to prescription drugs for about 5 years, and so that led me to want to take my position with GenerationRx, and where in the past our chapter has used this outreach program as a way to go out and educate children and focus mainly on children. I decided, me and my co-chair Shannon, we decided to take it to the high schools and the college-age students, and because these are our students that are really affected by these prescription drugs right now, and that are have been misusing and abusing them. So we've decided to take it to them. We started doing presentations last semester. We go out, we've talked to over about 1,000 students so far. We have mainly gone to colleges so far, but we have gone to 1 or 2 high schools where we have educated about the prescription drug and non-prescription drug misuse and abuse. So, but we actually are in the process of planning a community-wide naloxone training in order to educate our community about how they can step up for these situations whenever it may not be someone they know or are involved with, but they can, anybody that they see could be happening to them, an overdose, they can step in and know their role there.
So tell me a little bit about, you're a P2, and so you're finishing up your P2 year. Usually these are things that we expect from P3 or maybe even P4. How did you get involved so quickly, and how has your college supported you? During that Facebook thing that we did, I saw they were also on there. So tell me a little bit about the college, how it's supportive. I've just seen a number of things come out of Louisiana Monroe that just seem like they're pretty unique.
Okay, so we are a smaller school. My class only has about 80 students in it. So just being able to get involved with everyone, the relationships that you form so quickly. Most of our teachers have been there. Most of them do have tenure, but we're able to develop those relationships with them, and then they are so supportive of us. And so that has just been tremendous for me. I know with this naloxone training that we're about to start up, my advisor, Dr. Stephen Hill, has been an absolute godsend in getting all of this going. He has helped me. We actually have some naloxone trainers that we've ordered. I've got one with me. Thought it would be cool. Yeah, I can pull it out. We've been doing those.
I know we're on audio, so we'll have to describe what's going on here. But
Right.
we're actually
It's got sound.
Yeah, we're right outside of the MCC, the Music City Center in Nashville. So that's what you're hearing in the background. And but tell me a little bit about the trainer and how you learned to use it, just even how you got a hold of it.
Yes. So this was one of the things that we wanted to do. With our naloxone training event, we're going to have an administration training as well as a lecture. But we wanted to order these so that we could get our hands on it and play with it first before trying to show people how to use them. But this is one of the auto-injection naloxone.
So describe
from
it first
FZO.
of all. So it looks like it's in kind of an albuterol box.
Right.
But it says trainer for FZO. And then go ahead and tell me a little bit about it.
So it's an auto injection, so you'll just open it up. Kind of looks like a little voice recorder or something. You just pull the bottom off. And it starts.
This trainer contains no needle or drug.
Just in case somebody takes it.
Right.
Ready to use. Pull off red safety guard.
Okay. We pull on the safety guard off.
Inject. Place black end against outer thigh. Then press firmly and hold
Stay away from my outer thigh.
5 seconds.
You putting it on your hand? Okay.
Just to show you.
Okay.
It makes a
To
noise.
inject. 5,
Whoa.
4, 3, 2, 1. Injection complete.
That's it?
Yes.
That's cool.
That is so
And it's got a little
awesome.
red light.
Yes. And so then you just put it back on here and you can reuse it to show more people. We also have gotten the Narcan nasal spray that to show people how to use, because that's more of what you can get in the local pharmacies.
Okay.
So we have that one too. So it's more of a, that one is supposed to be, you put half the dose in each nostril, but it's more of a, once you go, it's gone. So, but yeah, so that'll be great little counseling points to give to people whenever we're showing them how to use those.
So have you personally gone into the high school or the colleges to do these presentations? So why don't you walk me through a high school presentation first and then a college presentation?
Okay.
So what's that like?
So far, they've been pretty much the same. With what happened to my friend, he was addicted to Adderall. So stimulants have been kind of my focus as far as where we've been going with this, because it is so prevalent in high schools and college campuses. But so basically, I made up the entire thing. Not made it up, but I made my PowerPoint presentation. And so we start out describing, what is addiction. Definitely want to make sure that these kids know that it truly is a disease. This isn't something that you would make fun of someone for, just like you wouldn't with someone with blood pressure or diabetes. So we describe addiction, and then we talk about popular drugs, popular stimulant drugs, popular opioids, and how these drugs can affect you, how they actually work. I think a lot of people, they just hear drugs are bad, don't do drugs. But until you actually sit down and have a conversation with them and tell them how it's going to affect your brain, and just, eventually overall your entire mental health, they just don't understand that. So that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to go to them, take the conversation to them, and really make sure they understand the consequences behind using prescription and non-prescription drugs.
So I'm a 45-year-old, so tell me what it's like going as a 20-something into the high school. So they're pretty receptive?
They are. They're, your normal teenagers and younger 20-year-old people that at first they don't really pay attention, but because I have a personal story and I'm not one that really likes to be emotional in front of people, but because this is so important to me, this is something that I'm able to take into these presentations and really show them that it can happen to anybody. I never thought it would happen to somebody I knew or would affect me, but it did. And so usually when I get emotional, they perk up and they'll get on the edge of their seats and they get excited to listen, and even have a few tears sometimes from crowd members.
Sure.
So,
That's braver than me. I had to give CPR to my daughter, and every time I talk about it, I lose it. So I can't make it even through that many sentences. So tell me a little bit about what's like going into a college. So you go into a high school, they're teenagers. But what about a college where some of them might even be using the Adderall right now to do better on exams? It's one of those things that teachers can't find out, but obviously there's effects that could come from it. And the pressures maybe, we talk about addiction as a disease because if we talk about it as something that's punitive, then we can't reach people. But if we talk about it as a disease, it's something we can treat. And so they've got pressures from parents and everybody that they've got to do good grades or get good grades. And here, they find out they can get Adderall from their roommate or whatever. Tell me a little bit about the college and the difference between college and high school.
Well, it does seem that there's a few more students in the colleges who are using it without a prescription, but it's probably about 50-50 most of the time. Most of them don't really like to ask questions or be too involved in the actual presentation, but will come up to me after and ask me questions personally about, I've been taking this for so and so long, how is this affecting me? Or should I stop taking it? Or are there any natural remedies I could use? Right. And so I've been able to provide them some of that information. But no, with the colleges, my very first college presentation was to it was right at 300 kids.
300?
Yes. Yes, it was. I was so nervous. I was involved. I went to ULM for my undergrad as well, and was involved in the Greek life there. And so I had connections through them to set up. This was all to sorority and fraternity members at ULM.
Sure.
And yes, it was to about 300 kids, and I could not have done it without my sidekick, Shannon. She is awesome. When things get a little too emotional for me, or I just need a second to step back, she's great about stepping in there, and really, she's awesome. So
what is your role actually here at APHA? Like, what are you doing, and then what's the rest of the crew from ULM doing?
Well, we all here at the
at the meeting.
Well, we all just came. I wanted to come and try to learn some more about GenerationRx. Not only that, but our first session we're going to at 3:15 is a leadership training workshop. I love any kind of opportunity I can get for leadership training. I'm taking a leadership class at school, so that's one of the big things that I'm looking forward to, and to also connect with all of the other pharmacists and pharmacy students throughout America. And so I think I'm really going to enjoy that. A lot of my classmates feel the same way. We've got P2s and P3s here. I don't think we have any P1s. So I think it's mostly about connections. They teach us that in school. Like, you can never know too many people.
It's true.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Well, is there anything, I've asked you a bunch of questions. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to tell everybody that's here at the meeting? It's going up tonight.
No, I think we've pretty much covered about everything. I just kind of want to stress again, how important it is that we get out there as not only pharmacy students but pharmacists, and take our role in the community as the medication experts, and really go to these kids, but not only the kids, their parents too, grandparents, and really stress how serious this opioid crisis is. And we can't do anything about it unless we step up and start the conversation about it. So that's my big thing.
All right. Carleigh, thanks so much for being on the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast.
Thank you.
All right.
Support for this episode comes from the audiobook Memorizing Pharmacology, a relaxed approach. With over 9,000 sales in the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, it's the go-to resource to ease the pharmacology challenge. Available on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon.com, in print, ebook, and audiobook. Thank you for listening to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. Be sure to share the show with the hashtag #PharmacyLeaders.